All right. Hello, everyone, and welcome to my little tiny corner of the podcast world. I am so happy you're here. Thank you so much for tuning in today. My goal, as always, is to share something to improve your wedding day images and experience. If you are enjoying this podcast, I just want to quickly remind you that you might also love my book. It is on Amazon. It is Prime eligible, and I will include a link to that in the show notes. Something personal. I don't know what to say, although the weather here in South Texas today is amazing. I think I might get out and take a little spin on my bicycle today if I can get two podcasts recorded today for all of this week's episodes. I still have not been able to really get ahead of the game. Ultimately, I would like to have like all of February podcasts recorded, but I have just not been able to get that done yet. So having said that, let's jump right into today's episode. Who is your photographer shooting for? Are they shooting for you, or are they shooting for themselves? And I hope to explain what I mean by that. So before I go on to explain that, I want to let you know that the way I shoot a wedding with regard to everything except for the portrait pieces of the wedding day is completely unscripted. And even with the portrait pieces, I've adopted a very precise way to shoot those, to even try and make my portraits as candid as I can. But during the wedding day, I'm not going to direct you to where to stand or how to get into your dress or which direction to face when you're getting into your dress. I'm not going to ask your mom or your maid of honor to zip or button up your dress. I'm not going to ask you to reveal your dress to your wedding party for the first time. And I'm not even going to lay out your details and shoot them. And let me give you some definitions. So photojournalism. Photojournalism is journalism that uses images to tell a news story. A documentary photo is a non-fictional image intended to document reality. And a candid photograph of a person is taken informally, especially without the subject's knowledge. So way back when, and I've slowly grown into the way that I currently photograph weddings, but way back when, I would say 5 to 7 years ago, I really thought that photojournalistic wedding photographers didn't know how to pose people. And that's the reason they were photographing weddings the way that they did, that they were inexperienced or lacked confidence to direct a wedding day, that they just really didn't want to get into the thick of things on a wedding day, that they just wanted to hang out in the background or on the outskirts of the wedding day, in the corner or against the wall, and observe, kind of from that fly on the wall perspective. But since I have developed this new mentality of being a photojournalistic wedding photographer, and since I am leaning into that really hard, I now understand that a photojournalistic wedding photographer is really allowing their couples to experience completely organic days. They are not creating or manufacturing memories for their couples. And they are actually more talented photographers because they are not, or because they are constantly hunting and searching for these magical moments to line up or align rather than forcing them to. And lastly, photojournalistic wedding photographers are actually much more generous photographers who shoot for their couples rather than shooting for themselves and creating all these moments for their own portfolios. They're actually letting these moments unfold for their couples. So when you have a photographer, a wedding photographer who is scripting the day, and they are offering all of this direction about where to stand, which direction to face, and what to do next, this is not your story. This is the photographer's story. And they are scripting your day and interrupting and disrupting your feelings, your emotions, and your memories that you should be entitled to have of your own free will on your wedding day. They are not allowing your day to flow and happen in a completely organic way. Again, they are giving you verbal commands. Stand here, face this way. Mom, come button the dress. And again, I've even stopped laying out the wedding day details. If my couples want me to shoot them, then I ask them to lay them out so that I can photograph, the bride or the groom laying out their own details so that they have that memory, not of me laying them out. But I actually prefer to shoot the details on the couple. A bride putting on, her diamond earrings or Louboutin high heels. A groom pulling up his crazy socks or spritzing himself with his bolt of lightning cologne. And yes, it is incredibly more difficult to shoot this way because I am not scripting those moments. I have to wait for them and hunt for them. I have to learn people's body language and read people's mannerisms and facial expressions and anticipate people's movements and what's going to happen next. And I have to constantly be listening to the sounds and conversations happening in an adjacent room and constantly gauge what's happening to know if I'm missing something that's more important in the other room. But you know what? At the end of the day, I go home with your story in my camera and not the story that I wrote or fabricated for you. I have seen photographers show up with an entire plastic box of props, tiny scissors and ribbons and wax seals and dried flowers and canceled stamps. And those are not your things. Those are not things that you wanted incorporated into your wedding day. And it's not your story on any level. You didn't pick those things out. Those were not your vision. I am not bringing those things to your wedding day. And it's my opinion that no photographer should bring those things to your wedding day. I am bringing photographic equipment to your wedding day, tools that I need to capture your authentic story. Cameras and lenses and flashes and light stands and batteries and memory cards, tools that are going to capture your story, not tools that are going to be in your story per se. Again, images that were created like this are not for you. They are for the photographer's Instagram feed, not for you, not for your children, not for your parents, not for your grandchildren, and not for any of your guests. These images were made solely for the photographer's ego and nothing else. So it's your wedding day, and it should be your story. And I think that's why it's so important that you have a photographer who is able and willing to capture your day in a completely photojournalistic way, in a candid way, and in a documentary way. And I am in a year-long workshop right now with Two Man Studio, and I'm just really cementing in this style of wedding day storytelling. And I learned these 2 rules from them when I walk into, the groom's getting ready room or the bride's getting ready room on wedding day. I think it was Lanny who said these 2 rules. 2 rules. Number 1, you don't look at my camera. And number 2, you are never in my way. And that should really be the only rules on the wedding day for the photographer. Don't ever look at my camera, and you're never in my way. And aside from that, the photographer should just be there to document whatever it is that happens and to just tell your story exactly the way that it naturally unfolds, and not offer any expectations, anything that happened from the last wedding or the hundreds of weddings that we've shot over the last decade. All that should just be wiped from our memory, and we're there to photograph your story and what's going to unfold with you and your partner, you and your flower girl, you and your wedding party, you and your parents. And anything that we've seen ever take place in any wedding before your wedding day should be completely erased from our mind. And we should be there to tell your story and only your story. All right, guys, that is it for today. If you heard something that really resonated with you, I would appreciate if you would screenshot wherever you're listening this episode at, and just share that on your Instagram story wall or wherever, and tag either Complete Wedding Ed or At a Girl Photo. Or you can just help me spread the word by verbally telling any of your engaged friends about this podcast, this YouTube channel, or my book. I would appreciate that. If you want to support the show or buy me a coffee, and you can help support the show by hitting that support the show link in the show notes. You can visit either one of my websites, completeweddinged.com or atagirlphoto.com. Again, everything is in the show notes. If you ever have a topic you want me to cover or a question you want me to answer, all you have to do is email me at Tammy, Tammy, at atagirlphoto.com. Thank you so much for listening today. I hope you have a dreamy day. I will catch you next time. Adios.